Drop one that I wanted to start out with because I actually find this one a little bit more entertaining, at least. It's simple, actually. So we're going to demonstrate the dragging and dropping and the way it's used to create UI interfaces for your app design. So we're going to take and put a bunch of image buttons out there, and we're going to drop the image buttons into a view, actually, which you can use for your multiple view application if you want. It's another idea that you can do. We're going to make a smaller view, stick it inside of the view instead of making them overlap. We're just going to stick another view in there, which is technically a multiple view. So dragging and dropping is an intuitive way to interact. Might not be obvious to the developer on how to implement such an interface, so here's an example of how to do it. So we're going to create an iPhone application. So go ahead and open up Xcode and select to create a new project. And in the new project, we're going to do a single view application this time. And the single view application, we're going to click on next. And I'm going to call this one drag and drop. Drag, drop. Drag, drop me. That way I know I'm not going to overwrite the other one I have. And then I'm just going to change the device now to iPhone, because it's easier for me to see it on the screen, the iPhone. So next. And go ahead and create it. So I got a little template going on here. Let's see, make this 3.5. There we go. Okay, now we're ready to go. So click on the viewcontroller.xib file shown below. Okay, so we're going to stick 4 little images. But don't worry, we're just going to set the background color. We don't actually have to import any images. But you could put images in here if you wanted to. And then we're going to have a view. And so we're going to get the image color and put it in the view color. Make the view color the image color in the code. So when we drag and drop these, we're going to see how the drag and drop works actually. So go ahead and put 4 UI images and 1 view. Let me just make sure that one is a view. It is a view. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4 with a view inside of a view. Because we know how to work with views now. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to put my view in there first, because I just love working with views. Seriously, I hate views. Okay, I'm making this one small. Now that view is manageable. It's not gonna fight with me. Alright, so I'm gonna put some images out here. Doesn't matter how you design it. In fact, if I make a small one, I can just cut and paste it. Well, here, I'll make a little guy here. 55 by 55. 56 by 56, there we go. Copy. I'll put mine in a row here, make it interesting. Are we too cold with that door open? Okay, good. I was loving it. I noticed he put his jacket on. I'd rather have it cold than stuffy in here. I love that door. Okay, so my beautiful UI is created. I believe we're going to set the background colors, but let me just double check this real quick here. To change the background color of each one of the views, all the image views should have a different color. Note that you're not going to be able to see the color. Yeah, you can't see the color, but we'll change the background color. So go ahead and pick out some colors here. If you go over to the attribute inspector over here, I can change the background color. Actually, I'm going to click on the menu here so I can just pick them out. Make this one yellow. This one green. This one red. Let's see, orange or something. This one blue. Here we go, blue. Make them all different so we can tell which one we're dragging and dropping. And let's see what we got next here. Now we're going to need to wire them, obviously. So add the following properties. Oh, no, actually, we're not going to wire them. We're going to add properties. Yeah, properties we're going to add is going to be drop target, drag object, touch offset, and home position. So put these properties in the viewController.h file. We're going to use these to control the UI view by the point, CG points. This is the touch location, kind of a simpler version of the touch control we looked at last week actually. So if you click on the little editor, get rid of the side piece, I'm just going to stick these guys in the viewController.h file. And I see my UI view has got a little thing next to it. So I'm going to go ahead and hook up this UI view. So this UI view is supposed to be this one here. So I'm going to connect them to. So my UI view, because I'm controlling the UI view, well, we're going to drag and drop the images to stick them in the UI view. So I connected the UI view to the UI view property. I believe that's probably what the instructions are going to have us do further down the road. So look at that next one. Yeah, wire the UI view. Okay. To the drop target. Let me just make sure that that one was called drop target. It is called drop target. Then we have the drop object. These are going to be the UI views. So this is going to be UI 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the objects, and this is the target that we're going to drop it into. So we added a outlet property to represent the UI view object that we've added to the interface. The drag drop property will represent the image view that's being dragged. And so we have a touch offset is the distance between the actual touch point and the upper left hand corner of the drag object. Make sure we're using an offset because we're not going to click exactly in the center of the object or to the left or to the right of center. We're just going to get the object. Did you have a question?
Why are you connecting the UI image views to every?
Because these are going to be different depending upon which one we select. We don't want to connect those. There's nothing to connect anyway. We don't have anything to connect for them because basically we're going to use one drag object to represent 1, 2, 3, 4 different images. I'm going to say which one was selected by the CG point that we've got. Where is it? And then what image is that? And then what background color is that? Okay, change the view background color to that color. Which is kind of like the logic we're going to use with it. Let's see. So in order to implement the drag drop, you have to track not only when the touches occur, but how they are moved from the screen, the drag, and where they are ended up, where the drop occurred. So every view controller adapts 4 delegate methods that assist in this property. The 4 delegate methods, we're not going to use them all. We're only going to use 1 or 2 of them. Touches begin, touches move, touches end, touches canceled. Remember these? From the monkey touches or whatever those touches were. All the touches. So in the demonstration we're going to use the first 3. The touches canceled event. It's called only when the system event, like in low on memory, is going to be used. So touches cancel is probably not going to be used. So begin, moved, and end. So begin, we moved it, we ended it. We're just going to create a drag drop. This is a simulated. Well, this is a drag drop, but it's a simulated touch control. It's just like those puzzle pieces. But now we're going to pick up the end point, and we're going to do something at the end point, depending upon what object it was dragged on top of. So you could drag these to labels, drag them to a view, drag them to other views, drag a view to a view, drag anything you want to anything you want, using the same technique, which is actually kind of interesting. So open viewcontroller.m and add the following code between the implementation and the viewDidLoad method. Now we're going to synthesize. You can put all this in one line, or we can put them all on separate lines like this. And then we're going to put in the touches begins, and then the touches moves, and then the touch point that's going to be for the touches ends. So I'm going to kind of cut and paste and put this in and see what happens, and then I'll talk about the code in a few minutes. I'm just going to stick it right here between viewDidLoad and the implementation at the top. And get rid of this end here. We don't need the end down here. Nope, we need the end down here. We need to figure out what happened here. Half the code didn't paste out. So I'm going to go to the solution actually. Paste it out of there. This is the view did load of the viewcontroller.m. So I'll just replace my viewcontroller.m. The tail end of the cut and pasting isn't working for me tonight, which is weird. It's always something new. Or you can go through and pick out, actually everything that you're putting in there has changed actually. But you want to leave the view did load, and leave everything else in there, just add this code to the top. This is the 3 methods that are being implemented for the touch control, followed, preceded, I should say, by the synthesize. Say that one more time. It's for the... No. The touch event works on the entire view, the root view. So we have this root view back here. This root view, everything's inside of that root view. The root view is controlled by the view controller. The touches work on that root view. Everything inside of it. Right? That's why we set the hierarchy up that way. We can get rid of the root view, and then we can replace it with another, but we'll always have a root. It's the highest most view which is where the touch controls are going to work. So the touches begin is just like the monkey pictures, the monkey touches actually. We're getting the point of contact and determining where it's at, and then we're picking in the object. So it's going to drag, the drag object is going to be equal to the I view, image view. The image view element is a UI image view. So we're picking up the UI image view. There's 4 of them out there on the layout there. We don't care what they are. We didn't identify them. We didn't create properties out of them. We didn't do anything. We're picking them up as object types. So we're saying if for the UI image views, I view is the name of the image view. We're going to call it inself.view.subviews. If the view is a member of the class UI image view class, this is the key right here. This is what we did with the introspect example actually. We created all of the labels blue, all of the backgrounds this color, by getting at the image class. So we know we have image views. We're going to get at the image class. If it's an image view and you took it and you picked on this and you're dropping it in, because we can put other things out there as well, but if they're not image views, they're not going to drag and drop. Only the image views are going to drag and drop if it's of this type. So the touch point, we're going to calculate the X, Y, and the origin, and all the information regarding where we touched on the thing. And then self drag object, this is the property that we created to keep track of the drag object. It's going to be equal to this object that we actually dragged on, the I view. And then we're going to create a self touch offset to see where we, make sure we're in the offset, and then the home position, and then we're going to bring it over, so we're going to move it, so touches move, so we have the touches touch down on something, touches began, and then we're going to move it, which is the move event we used with the monkey example, to move the image or move the pieces of the puzzle pieces, same thing as before. So we have the touch point, and then we have the on the view, and then we have the frame, and then we have the points to keep track of. Oops, let me get this out of the way. Make the screen a little bit bigger. A little bit better. Let's see, drag object frame is equal to new drag object frame, where we're putting it into, which is going to be the destination. So touches end, the drag drop target background color is going to be equal to the drag object background color. So the drop target is equal to the drag object background color. So that's why we needed to set the background color on those images. We're just taking the background color of this image, making it the background color of the view we've dropped it into. So we can tell which one we've dropped into there. We could do something else. We could change the image. If you have an image and you want to put the image into and actually make it an image view if you wanted to. But actually that would be hard to tell between the drags and the drops. So you can't drag and drop an image view to an image view. It can only be a drag object and not a drag target in this example. But you can change it, easily change the logic around to drag another object, a label, drag something else into it. But looking at the kind of object that it is, and then changing the background color or doing something, or adding an image or something into it. So, where are we? And the touches begin. We have the location for which we have touched down. So we're getting the X, Y coordinates. Actually, it's 4 corners of the image. We're getting that because we're going to drag the whole image. We're going to drag the whole piece. So we're getting the upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right corners by the X, Y, Z coordinates. So we're using that as the drag object. Location in view, self view. The location in the view is going to be the button that we're clicking. It's going to be the location, the XYZ. If we touched, let me run it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. The location in the view is where we're going to be where we touch down, the touch point. Well, that's why they call the variable touch point. It's going to be touches any object. It's just going to be the location. So if I run it, I demonstrate to you what I mean by that. This is the location in the view. It's not on anything. This one is on something, so this is going to move. This isn't, oh, it does move. Ah, you know why? Because I clicked on this one, it saved it. Little bug. Because it's not dragging it. Little bug. Watch this, because if I click over here, yeah, it's going to come back. Not supposed to do that. Now we sort of got it, because it's within this view. So it's getting the point in which you've looked. This is the set position, and then it's thinking that I clicked on the green. So if I drag a blue in, it should turn green. No, because I clicked again. So it's not refreshing the location. So if I clicked on yellow, then click over here and drag something else on there, it thinks I'm clicking on the yellow. It should reset it. It should set it to null. Because if I click out here, it's the last thing I clicked on. But actually now it's empty. Oh, no, it's still back. It's still there. So the behavior's not exactly perfect. But it's actually not a bad demonstration, though. That's showing you the location in the view. It's not resetting it. It thinks it's on the last button I clicked on. And then it's just dragging. So it should be just drag, and then if you drag it, it knows this one's on top of this one, and when the touches ends, this object background is now that object's background color, which is how the color is being set. So, anyway, it's just an example of dragging and dropping and how you can create some interesting behavior with it. So, I think this is a fun example because it's interactive. Make a puzzle and drag and drop the puzzle pieces. Well, huh? Color picker. Yeah. Use it for a color picker. Yeah. But here's the funny thing is, though, this is the touches begins, touches ends. The touches begins is blue, touches ends is blue. It's not actually paying attention to the drag component because this is setting the object location and it's green. If I click over here, I got green. If I click out here, I'm not going to get anything because it's looking for this. It's looking for this object type in the view type of the object of the class, I should say. So it's the object class. If you take out the touches move, you can't do this. Now, if I go here, take out this one here, touches move. Let's see, touches move. This is this guy right here. Oops. I'll just play around with it a little second here. Oops, did I get ends? Wait a minute, I just want the move. Just do this here. No, it's not going to move. It's not going to drag it. Of course, because it's the beginning, touches begin and touches ends that's capturing the color of each of the objects. So this just took away my my drag component. But I still work, but I can't drag anymore because I'm not moving it anymore. So I can put the moves in. You don't have to implement all four. You can put the move in without the end or the touches. Well, you have to have the touches begin to know what you're going to move. But then you can have the same behavior without the dragging and the dropping. So in the puzzles, we just did the move. So we did the touches begin and the touches moves, and we just moved it from one location to another location on the touches end. It's the same code, but we created it to look like a drag and drop. That's what we did. So. Okay, that one's kind of a fun one. If you read the summary, it'll go through a lot more explanation than I just gave you. But if you're interested in the textbook part of it, just read the rest of the summary. Each one of these has 2 or 3 pages of summary stuff on it that I've been skipping through because I'm lazy. So we have a animation one. This one's actually kind of cool. I'm going to show. This one's a really easy one, so I'll mix this one in. This one you probably want to download the images for if you're going to build it, because this one's got about 6 different images. It's a guy who was reading a book, and it's working with an image view. Let me show you where to get this one from first. It is Course Materials. This one is called Animation. Animation. That's the solution. I would download the solution actually, because this one's so short we probably don't need to build it, but I want to show it to you. And if you open up the here it is up here, let's see. If we open up the project, I'm going to run it and show you what this is doing. It looks kind of sophisticated, but it really isn't. See, we got 6 different images. You know those? Okay, oops, I have to change the device here. It's one of my older examples. I'm going to put it on an iPhone. You know those pieces of paper you cut up, you stack them all up, and it's like primitive animation. And you draw characters on them, and each one of the characters has a slight different change so you can have the thing move and stuff. You're doing it in an iPhone app with this. That's what you're doing. And here's your animation. It's 6 different images, and you're rotating through the images in one image view. We're using a timer, so you can speed it up, slow it down. It's very low tech, actually. Huh? It looks pretty animated, though, doesn't it? Like an animated GIF. It's a lot of work to create an animated GIF. So, but you could do a whole storyboard like this if you wanted to. And create a bunch of images. You're just putting one image on top of another image on top of another image. So you can actually put it on a timer and then send out a message notification if you want. So if you look at the, let me just see, it's so simple. This one I put together for a digital arts thing a long time ago, and those guys were like way earlier in the program than you guys. So I believe the tutorial is going to be like too easy for you. It's nothing to it. It's like 5 lines of code. Let me just take a look at the code here, and I'll show you what the view did load is doing. This is it might be a little bit easier. So the whole thing is a single view application, and you drag and drop 6 images into it. And then what we're doing here is we've got a UI image view. We're going to call it animation view. And we're going to alloc, and we're going to initialize it with the frame and the frame. We're going to initialize it, and then we're going to say that the images are going to be part of this NS array that we're going to put together. And the NS array is going to be an array with objects. So we just looked at this earlier in the Objective-C course. UI image named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the last one's nil. It's the end of it. We could have used a mutable one, but why would we want to do that? We already know how many items. So this is actually lower on memory. So if we did NS mutable array like we did earlier today, then we could grow it, you know, like we could create more animation, but why? Yeah, mutable means you can actually grow it in dynamically, so we don't really need to. So animation duration.
Static one, it cannot grow. That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry?
This is a static one, it cannot grow.
It cannot grow. NS array doesn't grow, but NS mutable array does grow. In the iOS class, in the Objective-C class we had earlier today, we talked about that. If you look at the video, you'll see that if you wanted to. So animation view is our UI image view that we're calling animation view. And so the image view we're running built-in methods for animation duration. We're going to set it at 1.25, animation repeat count is equal to 0, animation action start animating, and then self.view, add subview, animation view. Well, what's self? Self's the window. So if we look at the project, actually, open up the view controller, we get nothing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's why I wanted to show it to you. We're not going to build it. My digital arts people, okay, so imagine day 1 of this course 10 weeks ago. This would have been like, what? I don't understand. So now, you know, you got a little bit more experience, I hope, now. This should be too easy for you. But I wanted to show it to you because it's kind of interesting. So is the audio, so is the video. Very basic. Too easy for you right now. Way too easy for you. But this one here, not a bad one because it's kind of impressive. It's using all of the defaults of everything. And the only thing that has changed is this view did on in the view controller. Right here, this is it. This is the only thing that was added to it. But it's kind of showing you the power of the UI image view. We didn't drag it, we didn't drop it, we didn't put it on there, we didn't wire it, we didn't do anything. We programmatically created it, and then we put it on there. And then we used the built-in animation of it, so, which is given for you, which is great.
The image view will have the animation methods.
Already has it.
No, we can implement the animation methods only for the image view.
No, actually it works on everything. Works on a ton of stuff. We can animate labels. We can animate objects. Actually, I had a view animate, and the banana one, or the monkey one, the whole view went up and down, and then it got stuck. Because it doesn't do it. The animation doesn't make sense for the view.
Yeah.
It could make sense for this, because this is just going to go through and each one of them, you know, and count through each one of them and show each one of them. So, and we're just adding the subview. So what we're doing is we're adding 1, adding 2, adding 3, adding 4, adding 1, adding 2, adding 3, adding 4, or 6 all the way up. And the animate view makes it go smooth. So we have different types of view orientations. We can bring the view up from the left, from the right, from the top of the screen down to the screen. That's all animation, by the way. We're just animating the view of the image view. That's inside of the subview. So that's a no-brainer. Play around with that one. That one's fun, actually. I have another no-brainer as well for you tonight. And we're not going to do the pop-up one yet. This one's called audio, video, or video. Let's see, this one's video. This one, let's build, unless we want to take a short break before we build it. How's the energy level going? Good? Well, I can keep going. All right. So no short break then. Instead, we're going to build this one. This one we're going to use, it's nice to build it because it's like the Facebook one. It has an external framework that we're going to put in, and we'll see how the framework is working. And there's a couple of different options you have for this one, so we'll kind of make it, we can actually kind of tweak it a little bit too, just if you see how it's working. So in this application, we're going to display a web page and then play an audio and a video file inside of, so we're going to have a tabbed application. One of them is going to be a web page, and the other one's going to be an audio and video file. Why not? So we're going to create an application using a tabbed application template, which we've seen. And so that makes it kind of possible to just do it kind of simply. So create a tab application using the template, give the application name, video play, or anything you want. Don't use a storyboard, but use automatic reference counting. So this one, let's create. This one's called a tabbed application. We've created tab. We've created everything, but actually, if you want to see something interesting, a little side tangent here. OpenGL game is actually kind of cool. If you click on this one here, and this is game, we'll just make it game. Just playing around with it right now. If you want to see what the template looks like, for those people who love computer graphics and OpenGL, there's a wraparound OpenGL. You just write OpenGL code. And you stick it in your iPhone app. And you have a working app. But it's really hard to write OpenGL code. Well, it's not really hard to write OpenGL code, but a lot of people don't like to write. Unless you're a C programmer and you really like OpenGL. I'll show you the code in a few minutes. But the basic app is pretty self-explanatory in terms of what you can do. Rotating. For those people who take the computer graphics class here, we did this. It's just rotating around an axis. So doing a translation on a couple of objects that were created. So this is actually quite simple to do in like VRML. A little bit more work in OpenGL. So you got the packages inside of here. So if you look at the code for it, it's just a view controller with a view. The view's pretty empty because you're just populating the view. So in the viewcontroller.m file, alright, let's just look at the H file. H file's got nothing in it. This is like C programming. The viewcontroller.m file is what's over here? Actually, this is the shader. I'm not getting into OpenGL tonight, but GL positioning, GL animation, it's all OpenGL function calls. So it looks very C-like. We have void main here. We go into the viewcontroller.m enumerations from C. We got functions. It's like doing C programming inside of Objective-C inside of an iPhone app. And you can actually, you have to do it in Objective-C, but you can actually reuse a lot of it's native OpenGL code. You're writing OpenGL function calls, method calls, if you want to call it that. If you take an OpenGL programming course, you can apply that to programming in this environment. And it's just a matter of knowing how to translate it into Objective-C syntax for the most part, but you're including all the OpenGL library or framework for it automatically. So it's just like doing computer graphics with OpenGL. Wait a minute. And you have the OpenGL and the GL kit. So instead of using C++ for it or Java, you're using Objective-C for it. But you got to take a course on in OpenGL, computer graphics for OpenGL, to kind of to comprehend that. So I'm not going to show you past that example. We're not getting into that in this class. That's way beyond the scope. So let me go back into here where my primary objective was to create a single view application. But I wanted to show you that one. We've actually looked at. I have another one coming up next week on the paged base. We looked at the empty single view. Utility one I can't remember if I have something on that or not. I think I probably do. There's not much you can do with either one of these two. This one here you can write like a little book reader or something with it. So it's just going to implement a page changer kind of thing. So we've seen all the other templates though. So go ahead and open up a single view. No, excuse me, tabbed application. Is what we're working on now. Tabbed application. Just because this one's different, I'm going to call this one my videos or my multimedia. My multimedia. Doesn't really matter what I call it. And my multimedia is going to be loading up any minute now. So now I got a first view controller, I got a second view controller, and I got an XIB file for the first one. I got an XIB file for the second one. And it's all separated because it's not using the storyboard. Was I supposed to use the storyboard? Don't use the storyboard. Nope, I was not supposed to use the storyboard. So the last time we did this, we used the storyboard, actually. And you see it's all together and you can drag. And so take a look at it from a slightly different perspective. Not that bad, actually. So let's see. Go back to my trusty instructions here. This is again another really good beginner one for computer graphics. It's for the digital arts people. So Nah, for you guys. Alright, so let's see, but it's fun. So automatically creates a directory structure, yada yada, expand it out, yada yada. We see a first view controller.xib file. So we're going to add a couple of frameworks. So we're going to add the audio toolbox. We can actually do them all with the M player. We can actually do audio and video with that, but we're going to add them, two of them, because I'm going to show you that they also have AV Foundation, which is the earlier version of it before M Player actually supported everything. So we're going to put in audio toolbox, AV Foundation, and media player, just like we did the Facebook the other week. So go back and click on the project over here. Go into build phases, click on the link library, click on the little plus here, and just type AUD for audio. And we got audio toolbox right there. Add that one. Click on it again. I'm going to put in here M player. Oops. Media player. I think I want player, not toolbox. I want player. And I also want AV Foundation, audio video foundation. Media player. And then AV Foundation you're probably not going to use past this tutorial. You'll probably use M player for everything. But just showing you that there's another option as well. It's lighter weight. If you're just going to play audio, you don't have to have the big old foundation framework for M player. You can just do AV Foundation. That's just for audio. Doesn't do such a, well, it actually does video as well, but anyway. So I put in those three libraries there. I'm going to leave everything else the same because I need it. So now we're going to add a music file and a video file to the project. Give it the name music.mp3 and video should be labeled video.mov. Interesting. The video has to be of something that's going to be compatible for iTunes. So what you could do is download the sample project solution, which I've done. And in here, I have oops, nope, it was in the main directory here. I have a little short little video.
Hey everybody, this is a short video for demonstration.
Hey everybody, it's a short video. And then I have this song here of this guitar playing song. So that's not me playing the guitar, by the way, although I wish it was. So just take these as samples if you want them as samples. Drag them into the project. You do have to, in fact, one of the easiest ways is to open up iTunes and convert the video in iTunes and then take the iTunes video and put it in the project. Have it convert it because it's compatible. Because, you know, there's a size, it's like 320 by 320 or something. I don't know, there's a size dimension, in fact, that's what I did for this video. I cut a little video, put it into iTunes, exported it out. Otherwise, the video wasn't working for me. You can't just go download some random piece of video and have it work if you're going to do it this way. If you're going to run it from a website, you can use HTML5 video from a website, use a web view, go to that way, works fine. But if you're going to load it as a native piece of content that you're going to stick in the app, it has to meet the requirements of the video for iTunes, which is what you're putting on the device from iTunes. So the audio and the video has to match. It'll play MP3, it'll play AAC, don't ask me about all the different formats. Look it up on iTunes. If it'll work in iTunes, it'll work in the apps. So go ahead and drag this in here. I'm going to go ahead and do that so I have that in there. It doesn't matter where you stick them. I have them at the top up here. So, is it actually going to, oh, it's going to load it. Okay, good. All right. So now that I have my images in, I'm going to go to the first view controller. Do I really need to put a web view on there? Sure, why not? Because you guys haven't seen web views in a while, I guess. So we'll put a web view on there. So in the first view controller, we're going to create an instance of the UI web view class. So drag a UI object, UI web view object, place it from the library, put it in the window, wire the web view to the first view controller file and call it web display. So we know how to do this, so I don't have to follow through. The instructions are kind of baby step instructions for newbies, but and let's see, the first view controller, just to have something on there, I guess. So we got a first view controller here, .xib, and I'm just gonna, here, I'll put it up here. My fancy web. There we go. Get rid of that. Actually, this kind of, for those people who haven't done this yet, we did this like way long time ago in this course, but some people may not have been here for it, so I'll just do it again. You can make the whole web view fill up the entire page if you want, and if you do that, then you're looking at, you know, kind of the ability to make it look like it's running in your app. But I'm just going to put it in here. I'm just going to change my background color too to something so I can tell the background. I'll just leave it alone here. Let me change the background color here. Color is the default. Shadow color, highlight color, background color. There we go. All right, here's my fancy website. So we can add a viewDidLoad method in here. So let's see, we're gonna do all that stuff here. Oh yeah, we have to wire it as a web display. So go ahead and wire it. So now when you look at these itsy bitsy, these easy tutorials, you'll think, wow, there was a time when that was a challenge. Now this stuff is just so easy. So web display. I would hope by the time you take this class, you would know, if you've been here for the whole 15 weeks, you'd know how to wire a web display, know how to create a tab view controller, know how to get your properties set correctly. Now, some of the higher end stuff, putting all the pieces together, can get kind of tricky, I think, but the basic stuff. So open up the firstviewcontroller.m, and we're going to change the viewDidLoad. How are we going to change the viewDidLoad? This code should look super easy to you right now. This code is taking and creating a string that's going to represent a URL address, and the address we're going to do is we're going to load Google in there. And then we're going to take and we're going to create an NSURL object, and the object's going to be created by creating a URL with string URL address. So remember before we created an array with string, we can create integer with string, a float with string, and we can create a URL with string as well. So how are you going to remember that? It's going to be hard to, but you get into a pattern of knowing something is with string. We send it a string, which is what we're doing here. This is the string here, the URL address. So it's always following a very similar pattern. There's a kind of a method to this. And then the URL request is, we're going to create this thing called a request object, this temporary variable that's going to be a request. It's going to do nothing more than send this request URL with this URL. So we have a URL formatted now with this string that we created, and now we're going to send it to the request object. The request object is just going to go out and get it. And then we're going to load the request from the request object into the web display, which is how we're making that image show, or that page show up in our web display. This you could probably write yourself right now, I would hope. Well, if not, by looking it up, it should be fairly easy to do. So we're going to put that in the viewDidLoad method of the view controller. And this is actually demonstrating to you as well that you can program these separately, which is why we didn't use a storyboard on this. And the storyboard was all together. This is almost like a separate application in itself. And I didn't call it web display. I think I called it web. What did I call it? Web display? Maybe capital W. Oh, you're right. I didn't synthesize it. You're right. There you go. Alright, so now if you run it, your first page should come up, and the first page should have the website on it. So this tutorial was written back in the day when you used to get the auto-synthesizing going on. It used to, when you put a property in, it used to auto-synthesize. The system would auto-synthesize it for you, and you'd actually see the synthesized line show up in the code. Now they don't know how to synthesize, but now you don't have to auto-synthesize, you just put the underscore in. So here it is, there's my fancy website. In my second view, we're going to put the audio and the video on it. So there's my fancy Google website. If you have internet access, you should have Google loading up. Alright, so run the program, see what happens. Optionally, copy some tag images, put them in there. We know how to do that. We can add the image into the view controller. I didn't get any images in here, but on the tab controller itself, you can put images in there. We've seen that in a different tutorial, actually. We did that a couple of times, actually. In fact, I downloaded at one point some black and white little images that work in there. You have to make sure the images are 30 by 30 in size. If not, the images don't look good. Actually, some of them won't actually show at all. They'll be black. The whole thing will be black. I mean, what happened to my images? So you drag and drop and put some images in there. You can use the preview to adjust the size. So I learned about preview in this class as well. So inside the first view controller, now what are we going to do here? We're going to, is this going to put the images in? We don't put any images in here. Tab bar item.image. No, let's not do that. Okay, let's not add any images in. We'll skip that part. So now let's go to the second view controller.h, and we're going to add the line to import the audio toolbox and the media player and the AV Foundation framework. Those are those three frameworks we added in there. Just like we did the Facebook framework the other day, we're just going to import all three of them in there. And we're going to define a button in an IB action method to start and stop the audio playback and the video file. And we're also going to add an exit button. Now let's talk about the exit button too. This is kind of a different concept actually. We're going to actually close the application. Because what ends up happening when you go back to you hit the home button, you paused the application. And if you're playing audio and video, it can be kind of irritating. So if you close the application, you kill it. You kill it, it stops the audio and the video, and you don't have that playing in the background. Okay, so what am I going to do first? I'm going to cut and paste and put this stuff in here. And so this is going to be the headers. So I'm in the second view controller. So how am I going to get that? Well, I'm just going to click on my XIB file, which is kind of a shortcut method. And then I got my second view controller that shows up for me automatically. And then I'm going to go ahead and just paste my imports in here because I'm too lazy to copy them or write them. And just like the Facebook stuff, I just have the audio toolbox, AV Foundation, and media player. So now I can make instances of those objects and use them inside of the app that I've created. So here's what I'm going to do then. I'm going to make a couple instances. I'm going to make two instances. One for the AV audio player and one for the movie player controller. And I'm going to use the opening and closing brackets, but then I'm also going to use the protocol for the AV audio player delegate. So I'm going to put, because we're going to make media players in here, and so I'm going to use the delegate. So I'm in the second view controller. I'm going to paste in here, but then I'm also going to add in here opening and closing brackets here. So I've created two instances, two variables, the old-fashioned way actually, without property and synthesize. Just created them here. And then I'm also going to want to implement a protocol. So I'm going to come over here, copy this audio player delegate, and paste them in here on the line for my declaration of my interface. I can do that because I put in here AV audio, which is where it's coming from here, audio player delegates. So I have a stop, a start, all the different methods for the information that I'm going to do for the audio video. So then I'm going to have to put some buttons on this guy. So what am I going to do here? So I've got the imports. I've got the delegate added, and it's a UI view controller. It's a UI view controller. I'm good. I'm just checking to make sure the template hasn't changed since the last time I used this. So we have the movie player and the player. We're good. Now we got some IB actions. Those should look familiar. So we're going to put some buttons on here. Audio start, audio stop, video stop, and then exit the app. The little button says exit. And let me just see something real quick here. This is going to do it in the opposite order? No. This is terrible. This didn't even tell you to put the items on the, unless I skipped it up here. But my tutorial is flawed. It didn't even tell you to put the items on the, it just told you to put them in the, oh, okay, well, we can put the items. Huh?
It's advanced.
It says what?
It's advanced.
It's advanced. No, it's not. It's not supposed to be. Alright, so here's my video mess. I'll put in here. Video mess. Alright, it's not that advanced. Well, you know, it probably, you know, in the old days I used to put them in a series where it didn't repeat the steps over and over again. And then if you didn't, like this one here, left out everything about using the interface because the previous one did that already. And then I later learned, no, bad idea, because then you pick it up like this and it's like, wait a minute, what if I didn't do the other one first? So how did I know I'm going to be working with that? Let's just throw some buttons on here. Unfortunately, I don't have a screenshot of what it's supposed to look like, which is what I was looking for. It's a button. I'm just going to put this one in here. This one's going to say Start Audio. I'm going to create my own UI here. Actually, I just have to look at the solution and I'll see it. Start Audio. And then this is going to be Stop Audio. So I got Start Audio, Stop Audio, Start Video. I think I'm going to have to put a video box or something in there. Let's see. Start Audio, Stop Audio, Start Video, Stop Video. Assuming I have these buttons. Let's see. And then I got an exit going on here. Just put a little button down here. Put a little button up here that says exit. Video mess comes over here. I just left that label because the label was there. Why destroy a nice label? Just leave it there. Nobody's finding me funny today. It's just terrible. Alright. Let's see what this looks like. I'm sorry? No energy's left. I think that's what the problem is. Alright, so audio start, audio stop. Video start, video stop. Exit app. Well, that's good. Let me take a quick look here. M-player stop, M-player start. Let me just take a quick look here. Now I'm curious. We're just going to create it dynamically and stick it on the canvas, I believe, but I just want to make sure. We should be adding it to the second view controller. Start, stop, exit. Okay, this is what I did before. Okay, good. I just wanted to check the interface. Make sure I was... I'm sorry? There's, what do you mean? We're just going to add... I know. That's true. We could do a start and stop button toggle or something. So, uh-oh. Right, here it is. Here it is. This is the one I wanted. Okay, going back to this lovely oh, here it is. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of check. Oh, sorry. I just looked at it too. Okay, so let's go ahead and build the functionality that goes along with all of these lovely things after we wire the buttons. So let me wire the buttons now. Wiring the buttons. Oh, I'm just going to change my name. I'm just going to use the names I want to use. So this is going to be the exits. So touch down, touch up inside. We call this one exit. And start audio sounds good for this one. Start audio. Stop audio. Don't necessarily need all of these buttons. But why not? If you're not familiar with method calls, that's why all these buttons are on here. They do. The method calls already exist. What do you mean? No. We're going to call the methods from the object that we're going to create. We're going to say start, stop. We don't necessarily need the buttons, is what I was saying. The buttons are going to be just a way of making it so that we can quickly turn it off.
What I mean is that the audio actions, the audio start, audio stop, video start, video stop, audio exist, and then
They do? Did we add them already? Did you add them?
I did.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I didn't add them. I'm following my own set of instructions right now. You have to link them. If you follow the instructions and you put them in the code, you have to drag them to buttons that are going to be on that you have to add to the interface. I decided to do them the opposite order. So I'm putting them on the interface. Then this is start video. Now I'm adding the buttons. Excuse me, I'm adding the properties after putting the buttons in instead of doing it the other way. In the old days, you used to put the code, actually in the old days you used to put the actions in the code and then open up the interface builder, which was a separate application, and then wire all of the items manually for each one of the components that you put on there after the fact. This tutorial is not that old, but it's definitely of that, like 1 or 2 generations after that. So it's definitely not as modern as, oh, that works. Stop video. It is a pretty entertaining song. I could leave that running. So. Alright, so now I have all my silly buttons wired, and now I'm going to go to the .m file. Actually, I'm just going to go up here because I'm lazy. I'm just going to click on this guy, get rid of this one. And so now on the bottom here, I've got all of these 4 different things. So the easiest thing, actually, is to come back over to here. And the audio starts is going to, what am I doing here? We're making this is an odd way of doing it. The NS URL, because we could do it from an internet location, but we copied it in, so we don't have a path. But we're copying it in as an NS URL. So you don't actually have to do this. You could actually take it from a path, from a file, and use it as a file object. But we're creating an NS URL like we did the web. Now I understand why the web view is in there. Because you could take audio from the web and stream it this way. Instead of copying the audio file into the project, you can copy it from, just change this, instead of it saying music.mp3, change it to a web location where an mp3 file is located. So you're taking here, you're creating an NS bundle, main bundle from the resource path. The resource path is the string with format that's coming from a URL. And you're creating an NS URL object for it. And then you're saying for the M player is equal to AV audio player alloc. And then initialize it with the contents of the URL. Well, the URL is right here. And the contents of our URL right now is having music.mp3 in it. So it's taking the mp3 file and creating or allocating and initializing the player object. Player number of loops is -1, which means it's not gonna loop, hopefully. And if the player is nil, then nslog error in the description. The file doesn't exist, the URL is wrong, something like that. Else player play. So we have player play and we have player stop. So the audio stop is going to do player stop. The reason why this is all broken out is because it's meant to be a beginner tutorial. And so now in the video stop we have a movie player stop, sending the message stop to the object. And then the video start, the video start button is doing the same thing. It's taking a string, URL string, from a path. Well, the path for the resource is local. So it could take it from a video location as well off of the internet because it's adding it into a URL. And it's running the URL object and taking URL object file URL with path from the URL path, which is the local directory. And then mplayer is going to be equal to mplayer controller alloc, which means we're going to get the box. The controller is going to be allocked with the box, and we're going to create the box at 0, 0, which is going to copy over my buttons, unless I move it down the screen or move my buttons, which is why I originally was looking at it going, how come I didn't put the screenshot in there? Because we're going to start it here and go 320 by 320, so it's going to show up in the upper left-hand corner, the 0, 0 location of my screen, which is way up in the far left-hand corner. It's going to go down 320 by 320. It's going to fill up my screen. So I better make that, better move my buttons. And then movie player play. This code should look ultra easy to you. Simple, ultra easy at this point because we've seen a lot harder stuff. The interesting thing though is it's taking it from an NS URL, which is interesting. We can actually use it as a file instead of an NS URL. We can take a file object and load the file object into the mplayer controller, and when we allocated it. So init with content URL, you can also init with file. So it's not going to be specified as a URL. You initialize it with a file, a local file, instead of a URL. But a lot of audio and video is stored on the internet, so you don't actually have to put it in the app. If you want to put it in the app, then the URL doesn't exist. It's just the name of the file that you're going to use. It's going to find it in the local directory. So now let's see, which one did I just copy? I copied the start video. So start video goes here. I'll move my buttons so I can stop my video. I just want to make sure the code still works actually. Stop video, movie player stop. Stop video. Let's see. Oh, we didn't go to the exit button yet. The exit's just going to be really easy actually. This is the start audio. Start audio. And what are we gonna have here? So I'm not going to like. What's wrong with this one? Do we need to put it in the asset folder? I don't think so. Is your code cutting and pasting correctly, or is it having cut and paste issues? Take a quick look over here.
It is,
Yeah.
styling issues. Just to be honest. Just check it. Copy it again and then paste it back.
This is a line break from using.
Paste it back.
I can actually just take it out of the solution.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a problem with the quotation
Then it's fine.
marks.
We just take the music back to the slash. The music that I take it back.
Say that one more time.
Copy music from MP3 to the previous line.
You know what? I'll just do this. It's easier. That was the second view controller. Oh, we did have pictures in this one. So the solution actually has the pictures in there for you. Was it the start audio that was having the problem? Actually, you know what? I'll just load, well, I don't want to be lazy. Here, let me hold on a second. Start audio. Be real lazy. I'll just copy the whole thing. Rename. I know I have to rename it. Yep. See, filled it in. Yeah. I know. See what this is going to say. Format string is not being a string literal protected. Oh, don't worry about it. Alright. What was this other one here? Stop audio. Player stop. No errors? What does that mean? No errors. Start video. The exit 0. This should look familiar to those people who know C. It's a C exit. Do I have an exit? Did I wire the exit? Exit, here it is. That's an exit. It's a system call exit. It's C code that works actually. That should exit your app. So I think I have to fix my app though, because my my view controller's got everything at pi. It's gonna load it at 0, so I'll put this down here. Start audio, stop audio, start video, stop video. Put the exit down here. Now if I run it, it should run. I already did that. Wired it? Yeah. Yeah. It got wired automatically with the name. The same name. It was the implementation. It was actually not the interface. The interface has got to be wired. The implementation, you can cut and paste and change it. As long as it matches in name, it should be just fine. So there's my fancy website, and here's my fancy, oh. Stop audio, stop video. Does this start,
Hey
maybe?
everybody, this is a short video for demonstration purposes. That's
Stop. Oh, that's the audio. Stop the video. Stop the audio. My button labels, stop the app. My button labels, what did I do here? Oh. Start. Audio. Too quick. Right, that should look better. Well, anyway, hopefully you get the point. The point is, you're just telling it to the stop and the start button. Let's see if it looks. Oh, looks. Look at that. Auto arrange maybe is not doing me justice either. So.
Hey everybody, this is
I'm sorry. No, the video's not messed up. It's actually not the name. Watch this. It looks good right here. You know what's wrong is this length doesn't match. So watch this. Make this one a, hello. Make this one a 3.5 inch. Fold it up there, and I'm gonna make that video a little smaller. I think it's too big. So I'm gonna change the size of that video to, oh, let's see. Second view controller. Instead of 320 by 320, what is 180? Let's do that. And the video is gonna be real small. But it's actually holding the mPlayer object in there, so you can actually run audio through the mPlayer objects and not use AV at all, actually. Use it all through mPlayer. But in the old days, you had to use both because the mPlayer didn't support the audio. The buttons are still messed up. Oh,
Hey
that's
everybody, this is a
small
short
video.
for demonstration purposes. That's it.
Oh, stop. They can actually both run
Hey everybody, this is a short video
simultaneously.
for demonstration purposes. That's it.
Alright, that's enough. Alright. So that is your audio and your video demonstration. It's actually kind of easy. It's extremely easy. Why the buttons are getting messed up, don't ask me about that. I'll probably have to just change the format, change the interface around a little bit, make it fit more comfortably. And actually take off the auto arrange. So in here, if you remember, there's an auto resize subviews. Get rid of that. Probably make my buttons look better. So it's basically a formatting scenario. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video.